My name is Gina Yates. I am an author and I have a brand new novel out today. Check it out. This is the book here. It's called Narcissus Nobody. Isn't it beautiful? I mean, I know you're not supposed to judge a book by its cover, but whatever. I don't mind if you do in this case, seriously. So I'm going to do a little short video here, kind of my DIY virtual launch party, in which I will introduce the book's premise, dive right in and read a little from it, and then at the end I'll summarize, add a few final thoughts, and go in for the hard sell. I'm just kidding. It'll be a soft sell. So yeah, without further ado, let's get to it. So Narcissus Nobody is a somewhat satirical exploration of intimacy and society's expectations around that subject. It centers around one main character, Hope Townsend. It chronicles about 20 to 30 years worth of her very offbeat, occasional, and romantic entanglements. She's what you'd call a free spirit, kind of a loner, enjoys the company of animals more than people, and marches to the beat of her own drum, which happens to be the very heavy beat of a endless, gloomy post-punk rock song in her case. But what makes all of this a story, as opposed to it being just a series of random incidents, is that there is a parallel narrative happening at the same time. This centers around a self-help author named Brooks Nixon. Now, Brooks made a big splash in the 1980s, writing these cheesy manuals aimed at desperate single women, in which he instructs them how to behave in order to get the men in their lives to commit. But at some point he becomes very disillusioned with all that, and at the height of his success he does a complete 180 and starts promoting more of an anti-monogamy viewpoint, in which he encourages everyone to just live for the moment, do what feels good, let your heart love what it loves, and get over the need for attachment. Don't worry about dying alone, because that's no big deal. Unfortunately for him, though, this turns out to be career suicide. People don't take too kindly to his new philosophy. They accuse him of breaking up marriages, destroying the family, destroying society. And so, at least on the surface, things kind of go downhill for him from there. So this is all happening in the background of Hope's many adventures. And unlike the rest of the world, Hope really can't stand Brooks in the beginning. If she wants nothing to do with him, he doesn't appeal to her in any way in his initial incarnation. She never seeks out any of his writings or any news about him, but has a way of finding her. He seems to kind of follow her around. And but gradually, the weirder and more off the rails he gets in his transformation, she slowly starts to warm up to him and relate to him a bit better. So it's the interplay of these two narratives, along with several other layers, that are what make the book tick. Now, the scene I'm going to be reading for you is from early in the book. So Hope is in her early 20s at this point, and this is sort of her first introduction to Brooks Nixon's early writings. She happens to have this book by him, which she picked up. She didn't really mean to acquire it. She was at a yard sale, and she felt guilty for the guy. She felt bad for the guy running the yard sale. He was a compulsive hoarder and trying to get rid of stuff. And so that's how she ended up with the book. And she's reading it at work. She works in a nursing home. She doesn't work for the nursing home, but she works for the family of this one very ancient, bedridden Alzheimer's patient named Mavis. And she's there to just kind of keep Mavis company and attend to a few of her personal care needs. It's a pretty easy job that she just sort of fell into. And so in this scene, they're in Mavis's room, and Mavis is sleeping, and Hope has this Brooks Nixon book on her, and she's just figures she'll read a bit of it to pass the time. The book is called Manage, Manipulate, and Maneuver: How to Get Your Non-Committal Man Hooked in 3 Easy Steps. He also calls it his 3M system: manage, manipulate, and maneuver. So that's what she's reading. At the beginning of the scene, she's listening to her Walkman to her favorite band, which is this band called Wasted Grave, which is a fictional rock band that makes a lot of appearances throughout the book as well, almost as many as Brooks Nixon himself. So it's kind of nice that you'll be getting an introduction to them at the introduction to this scene. So here we go. Hope had listened to her favorite song umpteen million times, but it never lost its transcendental power over her. All sorts of mental clutter always vanished in those magical 3 seconds after she pressed play. The center of her chest levitated, whisked away by 1,000 distorted guitars into a swirling electronic landscape of sound. So glowing against the air, so splintering beneath the trees, I'm a stranger, dying, dreamlike, without care. It's just another pink, just another pink, honey, meltdown. Judging from the picture on the cover, this book couldn't have been written past 1985. Mr. Nixon sported a green polo shirt, a pastel yellow sweater knotted over his shoulders, and the dubious tight curls of a likely perm which, together with his crooked teeth and heavy arched eyebrows, created the overall impression of a man in a goofy disguise. Before she read the whole page, Hope could already sense the arresting rhythm of prose that made these books so popular. The author started off by firing a barrage of probing questions and then went in for the kill with his outrageous promise. Hard to believe anyone would fall for such blatant marketing hocus pocus. She plowed through the book's prologue hungrily, eager to scoff at its trite and patronizing presumptions. Are you tired of dead-end relationships? Do you seem to keep dating the same immature men over and over? Do you long for a meaningful connection and fear you'll never find one? Do you secretly suspect that all men are pigs? If you answered yes to any of these questions, you are not alone. But I have good news for you. In buying this book, you have taken the first step toward finding the deep, lasting commitment you deserve. Congratulations. The foot of the bed jiggled a little as Mavis kicked at her covers and strained her ragged vocal cords. Delma's at her house, Miss Mavis. Do you need something? Toilet. Okay. Mavis had worn adult diapers for over a decade now, and these bathroom trips of hers usually fell into one of 2 categories: too late or false alarm. But she vehemently insisted on making the trips, despite what an arduous task it had become for all parties involved. Retaining this mundane habit of self-care represented her final grasp at a long-gone autonomy, one supposed. As the 2 of them lumbered and heaved their way into the handicap-equipped facility, Hope made herself a silent promise that if she ever reached this stage in life, there would be no more fighting. She would graciously lie back and let the robots do all the work. This time it was a false alarm. The trick about false alarms was not acknowledging their falseness. She sat on the edge of the tub for about 15 minutes, hummed a few old country songs, and then wasted a wad of clean toilet paper and a flush before helping the old woman back to bed. Through my work as a relationship coach, I have heard countless stories from frustrated women like you over the years. I began to notice a common thread between these stories, and I set out to break the discouraging cycle of predictable patterns once and for all. Let me tell you, the response to my 3M system has been overwhelming. I receive hundreds of thank you letters a day from women who've attended my seminars, and now this valuable information is available to you in convenient book form. With the help of my simple strategies and concrete tools, you too will soon learn to become the top priority in any man's life with very minimal effort. A labored sound emanated from Mavis's side of the room, followed by a long stream of whispered expletives. What's wrong, Miss Mavis? Can't sleep? God damn it. Well, okay. I'll take that as a yes. How about if I go get you some nice warm milk? Sound good? Hang tight. I'll be right back. As Hope swooshed by her, Mavis lifted a mangled finger and widened her eyes as though signaling a waitress. Hold that thought, love, Hope shot back before slipping out. She knew this was a ridiculous thing to say to a senile person, but she didn't want to have to risk having to endure another bathroom trip. Hope couldn't tell one worker from another in the clanging, steamy commotion of that huge kitchen, but they all clearly recognized her. Chaos parted like the Red Sea as 4 or 5 women of color in hairnets all scurried to get her whatever she needed with polite efficiency. The contrast between the drudgery of their undervalued positions and the cushiness of her own made her draw her shoulders in, seized by a sudden urge to shrink and disappear. After procuring the styrofoam cup of microwaved milk, she revealed her ulterior motive to the women, bookending it with gratuitous apologies. Sorry, I hate to be a bother, but is there any way I could use the phone? I just need to make one quick call. Sorry. A very pregnant custodian led her to the noisy break room, a place far less relaxing than the one Hope would return to. The back of her neck became flush with every passing ring, and by the time Nathan's answering machine kicked on, a current of undefined resentment had reached her fingertips. What's up? This is Nate. Leave me a message. In the 6 months since they'd met, Hope had never once heard anyone refer to Nathan as Nate. His roommate didn't call him that. The skateboarding manager at the hotel where he worked as breakfast cook always clearly enunciated both syllables of his name. Perhaps certain privileged friends of his got to use the more familiar moniker? Hope wouldn't know. The only time she'd heard of him having any friends at all was when he'd needed an excuse to get out of one of their rendezvous. I gotta help a friend move. Or validation for one of his implausible claims. No, my friend worked there. It's owned by neo-Nazis. Sometimes she wondered if they even existed at all, these chums of his. If they did exist, why couldn't she meet them? And if they didn't, why lie? In the end, it didn't matter. No matter which angle she considered it from, his outgoing message still annoyed the hell out of her. Yeah, hi, Nate. This is Hope, Nate. I'm almost done work, and I'm just calling to remind you about picking me up. So I'm off at 6:30, and I'll be waiting in the circle drive out front, okay? I'll see you soon, I hope. All right, bye, Nate. Back in the room, Mavis greeted Hope with a distrustful glare that actually made her feel a tad guilty about the length of her absence, even though she knew Mavis couldn't care less. The look plainly didn't mean, what took you so long? Rather, who the fuck are you? Okay, Miss Mavis, I brought that warm milk you asked for. Now sit up and use your straw so it doesn't spill. This'll put you right to sleep in no time. You'll see. What the? Oh, Christ. Son of a... There you go. That's good. One more swallow. Perfect. That should do the trick. Now, I'm going to turn out the light again, but I'm still right here if you need me, okay? Oh, bugger. Lordy. Good night, Miss Mavis. It never ceases to amaze me how a woman so smart, disciplined, and calm when facing career challenges can still exhibit such poor judgment and lack of self-control when it comes to her romantic life. Shouldn't something as important as finding a life partner merit the same razor-sharp focus and determination as plotting one's vocational path? The book reminded Hope of a favorite old story her grandfather used to tell. Once at the Iowa State Fair as a kid, Grandpa had seen a sign that read, "Learn to whittle, 5 cents to enter." He'd stood in line for 40 minutes, clutching a nickel begged from his mother, until finally a woman had whisked him into a tent with 4 or 5 other kids. There, a curtain had whooshed open on a scene that was, well, anticlimactic, to say the least. A guy in a handlebar mustache was sitting there scraping away at a twig with heaps of shavings at his feet, repeating and repeating the same 8 words in a stone-faced monotone. Never cut toward yourself, always cut from yourself. true, Hope hadn't technically paid to learn Brooks Nixon's 3M system, but the feeling of being duped echoed her grandfather's story perfectly. She wished she could bring him back from the dead for a minute, just to tell him about it. I'll pause there for now. Okay, so now you've been introduced to the premise, and you've sampled the writing a little bit. In summary, the genre of this book is a little bit hard to pin down. I would call it contemporary literary realism, quirky and offbeat with a satirical edge. That's what I would say. I've also heard it referred to as pop fiction, which, I mean, I'm not too worried about it. I don't get hung up on labels. I think as long as people enjoy it. I will say that it's not the kind of book where things are laid out neatly for you and tied up with a pretty bow. I think there's a lot there. You could read it multiple times at different stages in your life and come to different conclusions. Different people could read it and come to very different conclusions. I think once you read it, whatever experience you have is totally yours. And it's all valid and wonderful. So I made a little list of some of the subjects, themes, elements that make appearances in the book, and I thought it would be fun to kind of read them all in no particular order, and that it might give you a sort of overall picture of what to expect with the novel. So here goes. Again, these are in no particular order. Dogs, road trips, outsider art, prison life, lucid dreaming, garage sales, talk shows, illicit sex, veganism, Greek mythology, social isolation, the wisdom of old people, punk rockers, skateboarders, the wisdom of children, herbal medicine, dodgy psychic hotlines, gentrification, people who intend to take advantage of others but end up helping them, common hypocrisy, corrupt judges, people who intend to help others but end up annoying them, OCD, ADD, compulsive hoarding, that loving oneself is not narcissism. That one's kind of important. Intuition, empathy, spirit animals, skunks, raccoons, cats, bizarre wedding rituals, that demanding others love you in a certain way is narcissism. Drug counselors, single mothers, living for the moment, karaoke, nostalgia, that it's easier to sell BS than to give the truth freely. Word. Multi-level marketing schemes, abandoned amusement parks, autism, Zen Buddhism, and the freedom that comes from radically accepting the utter ridiculousness of everything. So thank you for watching my virtual launch / infomercial for Narcissus Nobody. If everything goes according to plan, you're watching this on YouTube, and there should be a link or 2 or 3 to places you can go to order the book so that you can get it in your hot little hands as soon as possible. I think it would be really neat if you ordered it directly from the publisher, 3 Rooms Press, because you'd be helping to support the amazing work that they do there. It would also be quite noble of you to order it from your local independently owned bookstore. I know some of them are struggling right now. I relate to that struggle as a retail establishment owner myself. I sell vintage clothes, and the struggle is real. So it'd be great to help them out. But, you know, a lot of people like the convenience of Amazon or getting the Kindle version. And that's all good too. It's all good. No judgment here. Just buy it, share it, love it. And together, little by little, we'll all make this world a kinder, more compassionate place. That sounded sarcastic, but it wasn't meant to be at all. I totally meant that. Anyway, thank you. Love you all for being here. Namaste. Oh yeah, and also if you have any questions for me at all, I'm an open book, no pun intended. Just hit me up on Twitter, especially on this day, April 13th. I'm going to be paying very close attention to my Twitter notifications so I can get in there and answer any questions anyone might have. Some of you might have heard of me because you are familiar with my famous father, the late great Richard Yates, author of Revolutionary Road, etc. And certainly I'm happy to answer any questions surrounding that vast topic. It's just that for this video I wanted to keep things kind of simple. There will be other events surrounding this launch too as well. I'm sure I know of at least one on the 24th connected with Bookworks here in Albuquerque. And so yeah, my whole point here is to connect with readers. I'm going to make myself available, and so don't be shy. And this is just the beginning, so stay tuned.